I have one story that went into the Telepathy Tapes, which is a very, very,
Ah,
very good podcast. You know that in the US. And
yes.
I've been working with a girl called Emily Koenig since she was 10 years old, and now she's 25. And she's a national team writer from the show jumping team here in Denmark. And I have a lot of elite writers in my company here. I help. A couple of months ago, she needed my help because one horse got sick, and it started to have these spots all over the body, and eventually, because it's a sales stall too, 25 horses had those spots, and
Oops.
they called in three veterinarians, and the vets were going like, "We don't know what this is," and
Mm,
they sent out tests to various hospitals in Europe. Nobody knew what it was because they never knew what to look for. And then the mother called me and said, "Oh, I know your talent. Can you figure out what's wrong with these 25 horses? No pressure." And I
no
was like,
pressure.
"How do I do that? How do I do this?" And I sent out a collective question for 25 horses. A mutual calling was coming back to me, and it said, "We suffer from too much water. We have water allergy." And I didn't know that water allergy was a thing. I was like, water allergy? Who's allergic to water? That's
Right.
ridiculous. And
Mm.
yet still she trusted me, and she sent in testings to Germany again, my neighbor country here, and the result came the next day, and they got tested positive for water allergy. And I was like, is that a thing?
Wow. Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we are back at it again for another episode of Living Life Consciously. I am beyond words excited for today's guest, and cannot wait to get started. So without further ado, Ditte, if you could say a quick hey.
Hey, nice to be on here today. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely, and thank you for accepting our invitation. And for our audience, in today's extraordinary episode, we are chatting with none other than Ditte Young, internationally renowned telepath, animal communicator, licensed family therapist, clairvoyant, and best-selling author whose work has touched thousands around the world. Born with a rare and beautiful sensitivity to the spiritual realms, Ditte has spent 30 years helping humans and animals communicate from the heart, beyond language, beyond limitation, and beyond the physical senses. Her journey deepened even further through motherhood, raising her neurodivergent son, Philip, and whose life has taught her profound truth that communication is energy, love, presence, and not just words. Ditte has been featured on Mayim Bialik's Breakdown, the Telepathy Tapes, and stages worldwide. With 4 published books on telepathy and thousands of students around the world, she's Europe's most recognized voice in animal communication, empowering people to reconnect with their intuition, their soul, and the unseen bonds that weave all living things together. Ditte, thank you so, so, so much. Thank you.
No, thank you for that intro.
Oh, well, I meant every single word of it, girlfriend, so it's yours.
My goodness, was that me?
That was totally you. That was totally you. And that's why my cheeks are hurting from smiling so hard already. My audience already knows how much of an animal lover I am and how I always advocate for animals and try to speak up for the voiceless. And I've done lots of things in terms of animal advocacy myself. So this is a conversation that is going to ring true, not just to my heart, but to my whole existence, my soul, my higher self, everything.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay, so do you mind if I start with a question? I kind of like to start at the beginning, if that's cool.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so what's your earliest memory of telepathic communication, and how did you learn to trust that intuitive language from such a young age?
Well, I never trusted in my own intuition in a young age. I turned 19 before I was taught the methods and the tools to activate telepathy and actually to deactivate telepathy. But I grew up in a home with dogs and budgies, and I loved animals, and I felt they were talking to me I would think I was 4 years old, and I knew that I was kind of odd because I heard the voice inside of my head and I thought this is me going crazy or maybe I'm just an odd one out. And I asked my sister because I'm a twin, do you
Oh,
expect that they speak to you? And she was like, no, I don't. So I kind of knew this was weird, but I air quote tamed my animals very fast. They got very comfy around me. I remember my budgie was always sitting. I wore glasses as a child, and it was always sitting on my glasses while I studied homework.
so
Later
cute.
when I get to school, and when I had to say goodbye because they passed eventually over the years, I was completely devastated, and I promised myself I will never attach to any. I will never be attached to any
Mm,
animal again.
mm-hmm.
And then my abilities kind of developed into clairvoyance, mediumships, and it was difficult for me growing up being around people and being social because I felt what other people felt. I heard things that weren't actually telling me. I just sensed it. And when I turned 19 years old, I went to a school because we have lots of schools in Europe. I needed a high standard. I needed the theories. I needed the morality, and I needed to understand what is this. And especially, I needed to shut it off. And my teacher, was the one telling me, you are an animal communicator and a clairvoyant, and you will be very renowned. You'll give birth to a son, and you'll take the international stages. And I was more interested as a 19-year-old by the fact that I would get a son because I thought, who's the dad? So do I get other children?
That's
Because
so funny.
when she said animal communicator, I was like, what is that? 30 years ago, what is an animal communicator? We didn't
Mm.
talk about that.
Wow. So you were more interested in that man aspect than you were talking to animals.
Yeah, I was.
That's so funny. Yeah. So I'm thinking back to when I first heard about the term animal communicator, and it was through Anna Bradenbach. Are you familiar with her?
Yeah.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot.
She featured on the Telepathy Tapes too.
Yes, yes. And her story with the Black Panther Diablo, aka now Spirit, well, and who's also in Spirit because Spirit has passed. That story like cracked my world open. That's literally where I credit my spiritual awakening beginning, because as soon as I realized you can telepathically communicate with plants and animals and landscapes, I was like, whoa, say what? Sign me up. Like, I'm ready to learn. Teach me, please. So how did you learn to accept it and embrace it? Because you keep mentioning that you wanted to turn it off. So what was your struggle like with it?
I think I was, air quote, privileged to be born with abilities within every single field in spirituality. And I think that when I open up to it, I open up to everything. So when people have kindly asked me throughout my life, at parties or social gatherings, oh, can we do a test? Can you communicate with my dog? Or can you figure out how many fingers do I have behind my back? Or
Yeah.
what did I get for breakfast? All these tests. They
Uh-huh.
they weren't actually aware of, if I open up for this now, I open up for understanding all of you people in here. I see all the dead people in here. I hear everything in every single dimensions because I'm not only a telepath, I'm a medium, I'm a clairvoyant too. So that was pretty difficult to figure out how do I navigate in this, and that's why I was so occupied with how do I shut it off because
Right.
I heard everything. But at the school I attended to when I was 19 years old, and she told me you're an animal communicator before we had the internet because I'm that old. So I wasn't acquainted with Rupert Sheldrake, who is just across the pond for where I am. I'm in Denmark. He's in England. So
Uh-huh.
I never looked it up because I had nowhere else to look. And I didn't have anybody in Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Germany, the countries, my countries didn't have animal communicators back then. So I was pretty alone with it. And when I attended to the school, I needed to practice with 60 people. It was primarily blindfolded tests where I was sitting in front of a person I couldn't see. And I had to figure out who is this person? What kind of messages do the universe have to this person? So it kind of eliminated air quote cold readings. And I became very talented at doing remote readings because of those practices. And during my education, I took in 40 animals. I took in everything: goldfish, budgies, horses, cats, dogs. And I saw, oh my God, this is so easy. Why isn't this a thing? Why is this new to me? This is easier than people think. And after a couple of years, I finished, after 4 years, I finished my education as a psychotherapist while I was working in a news department in my full-time job. And news spread really fast. Even in the equine or in the canine industry, when you start doing stuff in there, it spreads fast. So it's like mouth to mouth based. And when you're doing good, it spreads really fast. And when you're doing a crappy job, it spreads even faster.
I was thinking that.
Luckily for me, I was doing an excellent work because I just created behavioral changes with those animals I helped, which was the nearest thing I could come to when it came to evidence. And I think that's why primarily I work with cats and horses and dogs, because we domesticate them. It's easier to see a result of the changes we do with these animals rather than wildlife. Or I have done everything. Wildlife, I've been into Africa, I've went to the Maldives, I worked in circus, I worked in zoos, so it's been a range of animals. And I do enjoy working with those where we see the result of our work.
Yeah. Getting confirmation is hugely important. And I remember when I was taking my very first animal communication class, the teacher stressed that from the beginning. Like, you're going to need confirmation, because otherwise you're not going to learn to trust yourself. Because I remember they're like, you're going to have something come into your mind, but then you're going to be like, oh no, that sounds silly. Like, let me just dismiss that. But really that could be like the key to why you're asked to communicate with these animals. So which leads me to the question I would like to ask you next is what are like the most common things that people contact you for to do an animal communication session with them?
It's primarily what people interpret as them having the animals having behavioral issues. And it's so funny because it's not the animals who have the problem. I'm sorry. When I ask a dog, why aren't you sick and tired of peeing indoor? The answer is rarely no, I'm not sick and tired of it. It never questions what I do. I just pee indoor. What's the problem?
Right.
I have to figure out another way of asking the animal, what will it take to prevent you from peeing indoor instead? The primary problems would be behavioral problems such as separation anxiety. My dog is afraid of being home alone. It's aggressive in the meeting with other dogs. Do we have jealousy amongst the cats and dogs or other, siblings indoor? With horses, it's primarily separation anxiety, fear of objects such as the cutting machine, the trimming machine, the whip. People seem to forget we have to do with flight animals. So it's their instinct to flee and to run. And when we domesticate them and socialize them, I think it's important that we take the responsibility to know better and to understand where they are coming from and their nature and how their nervous system works. And then I actually work around the human being, and then the behavioral issues are gone. And after 30 years of practice, to begin with, it was primarily behavioral issues, then came health concerns, And it's so important for me. And you probably know that as well, right? People are going to ask
Yeah.
you as a communicator, can you tell me what it got sick from, or we have health concerns? What do you see? And it's such a huge responsibility asking an animal communicator about this. So my job, because they don't understand, of course not, how it actually works. And how it works with health concerns is the thing that makes an impact in the now for the animal is what it will transport to the telepath, not especially the past, and definitely not the future. And if you don't understand the lacking part of the development of neurocortex in the brain of the animals,
Okay.
you won't be able to understand that the animals can't necessarily tell us as animal communicators, I'm going to break my leg in 2 years from now, or I'm going to develop cancer because of bad food products in 5 years from now, because we as human beings don't even know that either, you know? So
Right.
health concerns is the big thing. And I've spent many, many years building the bridge between the veterinarian and academic world and the more holistical world.
Thank you for doing that. I feel like that's such important work. And I feel like a veterinarian that is open and willing to working with an animal communicator is top tier, because if they're willing to bring in that type of information and accept it and work with it, I feel like that's like chef's kiss. You know what I mean? Because I've worked with veterinarians. I've been a vet tech since I was 15, and I've spoken to them about these kinds of things. And I don't think that they would really be open to it. You know what I mean? Maybe some of them, but I've definitely worked with some rigid vets, and I know that they would not be open to that. So when I hear of veterinarians that are open to it, I'm like, yes, that's awesome. Because it's like you said, it's like a bridge. You know what I mean? It's like,
I have educated so many veterinarians now in
I feel
various
like
countries.
animal communication should be taught in vet schools. And sorry for cutting you off, but
No, it should. It should. And I have actually been debating this with the vet schools here, but we are not there yet.
okay.
But a success story is definitely those many veterinarians that are animal communicators now. I
Ah,
get the chance where I live to be some sort of a brand. And what I have been very thorough in doing in the most refined way I could was to keep telling the animal owners, remember what makes sense to you is the important thing, regardless of the trainer, the veterinarian, the
mm,
animal educator, the masseuse, the chiropractor, etc., etc. It is your animal, and you get to choose who's good enough for your animal. And because people have been on a wave into the development and the process into a higher consciousness and more interest in animal welfare, they took in my advice over several years. So now they are firing the veterinarians if they don't believe in animal communication here in my country.
are you serious? Girl,
Oh, yeah.
high five. That is amazing. Oh, that's so cool. I mean, I'm not like excited about people being fired, but like if you're not open to animal communication, I guess you got to go.
You gotta go. Yeah, I keep blogging. I keep making content about the fact that many veterinarians, when they meet an animal, are calling it it. Can you
Mm,
it to come in here? Can you pick it up? And I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, it's so not polite, right?
yeah, that's very cold. It's very cold.
It has a name. Can we call it like Diego or whatever the name is? So that's one part of trying to personalize those animals more. And that's what I have in my books and my blogs and my online courses to better understand these animals begins with the fact that I believe you have a personality of your own. I believe that my animal have individual emotions, opinions about
Yes.
life in itself.
Right.
And a couple of years ago, I actually succeeded with building the bridge into Denmark's three biggest veterinarian hospitals where I worked. So we closed down the project eventually, but it was a huge, huge success that made a big, big impact here in Europe.
Oh man, that's awesome. That is so cool. I studied veterinary medicine at the University of Florida, and unfortunately, due to chemistry, it didn't come out the way I thought it was going to be. I didn't end up becoming a veterinarian. However, if you ever come to Florida to work at the University of Florida Vet School, please let me know because I'll like drive up to Gainesville and meet you and like work with you. I'll be your assistant. I'll do whatever you need me to do.
I'm just waiting for the veterinarian to invite me, because the second they invite me and they would, of course, they would test me. Can you tell us what this animal suffers from? And they would figure out very fast, like, that the animals know. They
Oh,
know
sure.
in the now.
Right, right, right. I feel the need to ask you if you could share a very like compelling animal communication story, just for anybody in our audience who maybe hasn't really heard one.
One story?
As many as you want, girl. I'm here.
Oh my God. 30 years of practice and many.
Pick one. Just cherry pick one.
Well, I have so many. I have one story that went into the Telepathy Tapes, which is a very, very good podcast. You know that in the US.
Yes.
I've been working with a girl called Emily Koenig since she was 10 years old, and now she's 25. And she's a national team writer from the show jumping team here in Denmark. And I have a lot of elite writers in my company here. I help. And not the last time because I meet up with her every month, but a couple of months ago, she needed my help because one horse got sick. And it started to have these spots all over the body, and eventually, because it's a sales stall too, 25 horses had those spots.
Oops.
And they called in 3 veterinarians, and the vets were going like, "We don't know what this is," and they sent out tests to various hospitals in Europe. Nobody knew what it was because they never knew what to look for. And then the mother called me and said, "Oh, I know your talent. Can you figure out what's wrong with these 25 horses? No pressure."
No pressure.
How do I do that? How do I do this? And I remember that when I went to the Maldives, I was very interested to communicate with the ocean and the whales.
Oh.
And I kind of just send out a mutual voice to the sea back then in the Maldives. Anybody, can you answer me as a collective here? So I actually copied that and I sent out a collective question for 25 horses. What's wrong with you guys? 25 of you.
Spill the tea, you guys. What is going on in this barn?
And a mutual calling was coming back to me, and it said, "We suffer from too much water. We have water allergy." And I didn't know that water allergy was a thing. I was like, water allergy? Who's allergic to water? That's ridiculous. And I asked the horses, "What do you need?" And they showed me that the thing they were standing on in the boxes in the stall was kind of taking in too much water. The humidity in there was way too high. Wow. So I told them, you need to air out, you need to remove whatever, is on the concrete floors now. You need to get rid of the bedding. And she was laughing at me and got really pissed because that was pretty expensive.
That's a lot of work. Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and it took them 3 days, and it's a lot of money. And yet still she trusted me, and she sent in testings to Germany again, my neighbor country here, and the result came the next day, and they got tested positive for water allergy. And I was like, is that a thing?
I don't think I know too much about water allergies either. I mean, water is life. So if you're allergic to that, I mean, I can't imagine.
And then I thought, this is pretty interesting because if the humidity is increased in the world because of the water of the climate changes, the animals react on it first. And let us see, in a couple of years from now, how will the impact be on us as human beings? Will we contain or obtain too much water? What's going to happen in the pressure around our organs when the humidity goes up? So this is pretty... I'm worried about it, but because I always see the symptoms with the animals first.
Yeah.
But of course, we're living in the same thing. We're eating the same products. We're drinking the same water. We're breathing the same air. So that was one fun session. Another one that is more deep and more emotional was I get the chance and opportunity, and thank you to all my clients, to help a lot of animals before they're putting them down.
Hmm.
Euthanasia.
Hospice work for animals, basically.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Such an honor being there in such a vulnerable emotional situation, and people are of course in grief, and people that is not animal lovers don't understand why people are devastated, torn apart because we're saying goodbye
Heartbroken.
to
Yeah.
totally, because it's even worse, it's almost worse than saying goodbye to a human being that has a long life, behind them. Often in if people go away in the natural setting, they have lived a life. Whereas when we are saying goodbye to a 5-year-old dog or an 8-year-old
Hmm.
horse, we know life in itself is so short. You're here for such a short amount of time already, and now it's shortened. This is so unfair. We have tried our best, for your recovery or to prevent you from getting sick, and yet still we need to put you down. And one beautiful story was I was helping a mother and a girl who was euthanizing their horse. It was a gelding, and I remembered the gelding when we first started. Never understood, why can't I just live? And I told him I was the one with, I'm sorry, my language now, with the shitty job telling it, but you broke your leg. You can't run. And when I explained it to him, he said, okay, you know what? Then I understand, because I'm a playful, that's one of my personality profiles. I'm a playful boy. If I can't run, I can't be free. I don't want to be here anymore. But
Hmm.
he said, can you tell my sister, that was the daughter, can you
Oh,
tell my sister she needs to figure out what kind of education she wants? She's unaware, or she's not certain if she should become a physiotherapist or a veterinarian. And I
wow.
thought, what? How do you know that? That was, what had my interest. How can you know that? You know,
Right.
and the gelding said, because it's in her consciousness, and I'm picking up on her thoughts. I don't know, but what he knows what a veterinarian is, but I didn't know what the physiotherapist was, but I know the word. And then he sent the word to me, and I, as a human being, know what a physiotherapist is, so I could explain it to her. And
Right.
she was bawling, and she said, oh my God, this is so true, because I'm in doubt. I don't know which road I'm going to take here.
Oh,
So every single animal in every single session is providing me with knowledge where I get more clever, more informed, more enlightened with my job every single day.
oh,
Every
wow.
single day. Yeah.
What a blessing. And I don't really use that word too much because it has like a religious connotation in my mind, but like what truly though, like what a blessing. Like that's amazing. And
Thank
in my very short amount of time in the animal communication world when I was in school, I remember when I communicated with horses,
you.
how different it was compared to cats and dogs for some reason. And maybe, I don't know, maybe you can help me like make sense of this, but to me, it seemed like they were in a higher dimension or something. I don't know how to explain it. Like their wisdom was just like next level up there. Like cats and dogs were more grounded is the word that I'm thinking to use, whereas horses were like more cosmic. Like they were tapped in, tuned in. They're a different thing. Yeah. I mean, does that make sense to you? Just
Yeah. To completely makes sense to me. I have met so many spiritual cats as well, but
ah,
basically cats are more occupied with themselves. They're things as social as dogs are. That's why the cat lovers loves cats, because they're on their own.
right. They're
They're
more independent.
Exactly. Whereas the dogs are very occupied with the family members. Play with me, feed me, and activate me. And I'm worried about my mom and my dad, or my dad and my dad, and my mom and my mom, or my siblings. But that's basically it. Whereas the horses are very, very concerned about themselves, the persons they connect with, the pack, and what's around them. So it's
Mm.
so true. It's so true. It takes it to another level. And the animals, no, sorry, the horses are the only animals we're sitting on, and to understand that they take in our physicalities, our energies, our thoughts. They take in everything like one big sponge. That has
Wow.
my huge interest because it becomes very complicated working with horses because their human beings are very complicated.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you for like confirming that and providing that like background information to confirm it. And I would also like to take this opportunity since we've already mentioned the telepathy tapes. And just so you know, from the moment the telepathy tapes came out, I have been on that hill, pun intended, on that hill, speaking about them ever since. I feel like I've mentioned them in like every single interview that I've done since they came out. But since we're talking about the telepathy tapes, we're talking about horses, I would like to move the conversation into autism. And if you don't mind, can you tell the horse story of how you met your son and that whole, you know?
Yeah, I was working in Northern Zealand because Copenhagen is part of an island in Denmark, so it's around surrounded with sea. But I was working in a stall in the Northern Zealand, and my job was back then, it was 18 years ago, to tell the owner if a mare in the stall was pregnant with a stallion or a mare.
Oh,
And this is so sexist, but stallions are worth more money than the mares in the equine industry. This is ridiculous because come on, guys, it's 2026 now,
I know, right?
keep up, and then
Amen.
yeah. And I asked the mare, so what do you have in there? What are you pregnant with? Do you sense it? And she said, yeah, I am pregnant with a boy, and so are you. And I were, babbling, on to the owner, and then I paused and I thought, what did she say? And I, went back to the mayor telepathically and said, I'm sorry, sorry, what?
Say that
And she,
again.
you're pregnant. And I never planned on becoming pregnant.
You had no idea.
I didn't mind becoming pregnant, but it wasn't part of my plan. And I ran home and I took a pregnancy test and I was pregnant. And I think that in those 9 months, I was worried about the fact, do I have a sound and safe and healthy boy in there or baby in there? And I just knew something was off. And I remembered my teacher, back from when I was 19 years old in my clairvoyant school, who said, eventually you're going to give birth to a son. And I was occupied with the father, we remember.
Yeah.
But she did tell me that you will once be on stages and international stages with your son, and he's very, very special gifted. And I had absolutely no idea that when I gave birth to Philip, that's his name, I would give birth to the most beautiful autistic son, but also suffering from a minor brain damage, also having autism.
Hmm.
And I just trusted my intuition all the time, and I knew even though he was born blind, which he was, I never believed them. And he has partial sight now. He can watch
Oh,
TV, he can read books, he can play iPad,
wow.
do stuff, write on a computer, write letters to me, but he'll never be able to. Fly an airplane, but that's okay with me. Who would like to do that? Um, and 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 a couple of years ago, I was being invited to stand on TEDx and become a TEDx speaker. And my speech was about my son Philip, and I called it the three most important things my disabled son taught me. And then I understood. So this is what an international stage looked like. And then the career really took off internationally. So even though I have been renowned in Europe for 30 years, it really took off after being part of TEDx. And then came the next show and the next show and so on. So that's how it began with Philip.
Well, shout out to Philip. I just wanted to give him recognition. I would like to say hello to Philip. And would you agree that he's probably one of your greatest teachers?
Oh, definitely. I call him my
Okay.
little Buddha. I call him my little Buddha because Philip only knows the life of being Philip. And he's always happy. He has a great sense of humor, and he only understands being in the now. And
Mm,
now I understand, after giving birth to Philip, why I became the animal communicator. People have been really offended by the fact that I work with children in the autism spectrum and non-speakers and animals.
why?
And because people think that I mistake them one the other after the other, or
Mm,
I kind of blend them in. But it's because I just see souls when I work. I don't differ between it's a two-legged, it's a four-legged. I just see a soul who's intelligent and who's bright, and I can communicate what's in there. Of course, I understand that a
mm,
human being is a human being and an animal is an animal. But if we need to take that up for debate, is one more important than the other? Or
right.
is one more valuable than the other? Is another debate, isn't it? Right?
Sure.
Because in my world, everybody around us is valuable and important in the world. And Philip teaches me to clear the road for him because in most countries, being part of a neurodivergent society is difficult. It's a
Mm,
hassle. It's a fight against a system that is not providing the help these children need. And even though we have special aid, special needs, special care, special schools,
hmm.
they need a lot of funding, they need a lot of knowledge. They're way behind, even though we need them.
Right.
Uh, those children here in Denmark, in Europe, we have an increased amount of children that are being given the diagnosis ADHD, ADD, autism, OCD, selective mutism, et cetera, et cetera. So
Wow.
we are so focused on the diagnoses instead of the human being. And we are so focused in many countries of the fact that it costs the society a lot of money instead of looking at why is it an expensive area, and could it be the society that is outdated instead of it's all these children that have just figured it out.
Right. And thank you for saying that and for advocating for this community. And you're making me think of some lessons that I've learned from listening to Dolores Cannon, because there was somebody that had, are you familiar with Dolores Cannon?
Oh, unfortunately not.
Oh man, oh man, she's the goat. Okay, hold on. So I'll just go back to the story. So basically, somebody asked her, because she's able to communicate, and actually, I don't even know how she does it. Anyways, somebody asked her, why would somebody want to incarnate in a disabled body? And basically, Dolores Cannon's answer was that not only are these souls that are coming in through these disabled physical bodies here to learn more lessons. Like, in other words, they're able to check more boxes off the soul contract and learn more lessons while they're here, but they're also meant to be teachers for those around them. So their soul mission is not just individual. Their soul mission is more for the people that are going to be around them, learning how to care for and take care of somebody with their needs. And I feel like, because there's a lot of talk about, I hate to even mention it, but like Trump and the whole Tylenol and don't take Tylenol because then you're going to be autistic, that whole BS. I hate that. I feel like people that are coming in with autism are more in tune. Like they're more, I don't want to say advanced because I feel like everybody has the ability to be telepathic, but I feel like they have less filters than we do. I don't feel like they have like an ability that's above and beyond what we have. They just have more access to it. So I feel like they're here to like literally show us the way. You know what I mean? Like they're here to expand our mind and expand our consciousness and to realize that like we're not just these physical bodies, we're so much bigger.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it's proven that their brains functions differently than the neurotypical brains. And
Mm,
I think most sensitive people without the autism diagnosis out there completely understand they're being not scared of loud noises, but they're being sound sensitive. They're being sensitive when it comes to clothes. They're being sensitive when it comes to many people in social gatherings. So it makes completely sense to me that the impulses and and whatever stimulants is around us is way too heavy. It's too big, it's too much, in such a money-driven world we live in.
Materialistic, yeah.
Absolutely. And, whenever people meet Philip in my city where we live, the mailman knows him. The woman in the grocery store knows him,
Aw.
being super empathetic when they meet him. They're like, hey, Philip. And Philip thinks it's the most natural part of being Philip. Like, he knows everyone. Hi, hi, he keeps saying when we are out for a walk, because people are just being truly polite. And I don't even focus on those people who might, look or stare weird in a weird way when they look at my son. I don't even see them because I have him and I or myself in a bubble, and I only focus on light. I only focus on love, and I just clear the road constantly. When I sense that
Aw.
people won't move on the pavement for Philip, and he's only partial sighted, so it's difficult for him to navigate out there. I just send out energy like, can you please move a little bit with my energy, and then they move. So and
Ah.
never understands. Maybe he does, but he is not that occupied with what is my mom doing. I'm occupied. I'm working full time with him energetically when I'm with him.
Sure. And you just made me remember a point I wanted to make earlier with the people that hired you to determine the sex of the foal. I feel like if people like that and people that have issues with you doing animal communication and talking with autistic children, I feel like if they understood energy, that their gripes would just go away because they're looking at it as a very like materialistic physical kind of thing. If they understood it on an energetic soul level, they would see that in your mind energy is energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only change from one form to another, and everything that has life has consciousness. So it's like if when you understand that and you understand it on the spiritual energetic level, I feel like things just make a whole lot more sense. So my question to you is, for other parents of neurodivergent children, what's one message that you wish you could transmit straight into their hearts?
Don't ever change them. Change the world. Don't
Ooh.
ever change them. Change the world.
Oh, I love you just gave me spiritual chills. I love that. Yeah, because there's a quote that I always use, and I think it's Mahatma Gandhi, where they say, oh man, I hope I didn't just butcher that name. But basically, it's like be the change you wish to see in the world. Like don't man, you just blow my mind right now.
Thank you. To all those skeptical people out there, those people who've been skeptical in my life have either been academic people who have survived, air quote, survived in their childhood by being talented. And the only knowledge they received from their parents and the only love they felt was when they're good boys and good girls in school. So
Um,
they need to grow up and get straight A's and be very intelligent and be very academic. And when they meet a person like me who says, well, maybe you studied for 5 years as a veterinarian, maybe it takes you 2 or 3 sessions to figure out what's wrong with the animal, but it takes me about 10 minutes. They feel mocked and they feel
belittled.
belittled. Yeah,
Yeah.
without it's my intention. It's
Right.
not intended to do here.
It's just a
I'm just
blow to their ego.
definitely. So that's one part of those people becoming skeptical. In my personal life, when I meet people that are skeptical and are calling me woo woo, the woo woo lady or the
Oh.
witch, or we should burn your ass on the fire or whatever,
Ooh.
it's
Mm.
basically people that have suppressed emotions throughout many years. They don't want to be in tune with or connected with. So when they meet me, who are very in tune with my emotions, who is owning my light and my love and my, sensory profile here as being a telepath, they feel so provoked by it. And underneath that is the projection of the fact that if they open up for their emotions, they open up for everything they're suppressing.
You just said it. You just said it. I'm sitting here in my mind like, yep, 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 yep. I feel like a lot of people have built a very tight box around themselves, and anything outside of that box they're just not even willing to entertain. Like they're just like, no, like they stick their fingers in their ears, they're like la 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 la, nope. Like they don't even want to hear it, they don't want to think about it, they don't want to contemplate it, they don't want to ponder it, they don't want to open themselves up to the possibility of it. It's like painful for them almost, and I'm like, oh man, you've got so much growth to do. I hope your journey quickens, you know. Like I'm just like, I hope you get caught up to like the real reality of everything, because living in a constricted box based off of social norms and religious norms and, you know, whatever your parents taught you was right and wrong, it's like, it's constricting.
It's boring.
That
I
too.
always think, wow, what a boring life. You're just doing whatever people are doing, you know. And
Uh-huh.
I always enjoy when I see pictures such as like white horses everywhere and then one black in the middle. Yeah, like he stood out or she stood out. You know, people who dare to stand out a little bit, that's
Hmm.
the successful people. You know, that's the people who invent stuff.
Right, right. People that fly a little bit above the radar, right?
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So, how do you stay personally grounded, clear, and centered while navigating so many different energetic realms and energies and all of that?
That's a good question, and I'm very focused on it every single day because I
Okay.
have so many different souls coming in, and they're
Yeah.
entered in my, you know, system as well. I cleanse myself a lot. My husband often asks me, "Why do you take so many showers?" You know, and I know it's not okay, but it's expensive, and I'm spending too much water. I could just visualize cleansing myself, so that's one thing. I
Okay.
spend time by myself. Actually, I'm isolating myself a lot. I'm being very silent. You know, I use nature. I just go for so many walks all the time, and I just take in, I ask the trees, will you send healing to my chakras? Will you load my batteries? And I'm
Aw.
going to give you something back. You know, I'm going to give you my air, or I'm going to give you my love. So I feel I'm constantly trying to make some sort of cycle. So what I send out is being returned to me, so that I love myself enough so that I deserve the energy from whoever can help me. And that's
Mm.
could be nature.
Oh man, oh man, I love all of this. I love all this. Do you feel that there's like a resounding collective message that the animals or the planet or plants on the planet or mushrooms, or like, do you feel like there's a resounding message that non-humans are trying to convey to humans right now?
All the time. They are trying to convey, when you take care of yourself, you're taking care of me, because
Mm.
we. So every single animal, plants, whatever, will always be occupied of those next to them. You know, the kindred spirits. They're being empathetic. They're being part of a collective, and they know you and I are one. So if you don't take care of yourself, you're not taking care of me. I
Mm.
like stuff. I like energy. You know, so I know it's a saying that everybody knows who needs to take the oxygen mask on first, but
Oh,
honey, it's true. It's true, and not based on from the ego, but based from I need to heal. When I meet all these animal lovers out there, they are throwing money at their animals when it comes to clothing, food, veterinarians, masseuses, other practitioners, acupuncturists, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm always sitting there observing them, thinking, and how much money do you spend on yourself? How much
oh,
self-care and self-love do you take seriously? Especially when it comes to the equine industry, you know, as I said prior, those are the horses are the only animal we're sitting on, and they take in our physicality, our thoughts and emotions, et cetera, et cetera. So when riders ask me, um, I think my horse has difficulties bending to the left, I know that that's the same problem the rider has.
mm.
might be locked in the pelvis. They might have broken an arm and need to, train the other arm or be stronger in the other arm. You can't just look at the symptom. And the symptom, air quote, symptom is the horse. My horse can't perform. And I'm always telling them, you can't either. Maybe we should work with you.
I love how you just like mirror it right back at them. Well, actually, how about you?
All the time. You can't isolate a problem to an animal. You can't say my animal has a problem or my animal has a behavioral. No, no animal were born scared, shocked, traumatized, aggressive, or whatever we have, amongst behavioral issues. It's something that human beings have put on them.
Wow. So basically, and again, forgive my French, we need to figure our shit out.
We do. We don't think about the fact that when we get a new puppy, we took away the puppy from the mother and their siblings without telling it, is it okay? We just got more occupied and happy by the fact that I got a pup instead of looking at, but the pup lost something in the process. We need to take care of to avoid, example, separation anxiety, or when we have many movements. I meet so many animal owners. I bought a new house, then I bought a new house, and I don't understand why my dog is aggressive in the meeting with men. And often these animals are showing me one bad incident with, it's just an example, a male carpenter as an example, and then movements after movements and stressful situations, which means they combine the emotion of stress with the carpenter, who by accident was a man. So now we have the problem.
That's so interesting. And thank you for bringing that point up. And I feel the need to brag just a tiny little bit because my partner and I, we recently adopted 3 kittens, and their backstory is that it's like a house that has a lot of strays, and this one mama cat just had kittens, and the people didn't want the kittens to get caught up in all the street stuff, so they brought them in. And when we adopted them, I was thinking about it. I'm like, I want to communicate telepathically with the mom of these 3 boys so that she is at peace. So I communicated that to them, and then I also made efforts to communicate that to her, and then TMI, I probably went a little bit too far, but the people that let us adopt the cats from them lent us their carrier. And when I returned their carrier, I wrote a letter and I put it in the carrier so they could read it. And I asked them, can you please telepathically communicate with the mama cat to let her know that her babies are safe. They're going to be taken care of. There's nothing to worry about. Thank you so much for providing these babies. And please, just be okay, And I don't know how they took that. They probably thought I was weird as hell, but I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I still took that energy and effort into remedying that situation to where I didn't want the mama cat to be distressed. I didn't want my 3 boys to be distressed. I wanted everybody to be okay. So I hope it worked. I don't know, but I hope it did.
It will, definitely.
I hope I taught the people that we adopted the cats from that animals are telepathic. I don't know if that was even on their realm of acceptance or not, but I planted the seed.
Good.
Yay! Okay, cool. I would like to take this opportunity for you to brag and tell our audience where they can find you online, if they would like to work with you, what type of services you offer, and what kind of exciting things you have coming up.
Oh, I have made, actually it was an old idea and an old concept I had, but I just renewed it. It's called Ditte Young Talks. It's on my website, ditteyoung.com. And Ditte Young Talks is a chance to meet me live and comment on social medias where I am as well. What type of need and help do you need from me? And then that's the topic. When I read the vast majority is pointing at health concerns, I'm going to talk about health concerns. When I read that the majority talks about separation anxiety, I talk about separation anxiety. So my followers get to choose whatever I talk about during those Ditte Young Talks. So that's one thing. Then I have my online courses for masterclass for parents who are interested in the telepathic tools I have with their own neurodivergent children or non-speakers. I have my animal telepathy masterclass for animal lovers who like to be acquainted with that. After the big breakthrough, international breakthrough I had, I can't provide as many bookings and slots for people who need my help. Instead, I have made my best to provide online courses with every single problem you have out there. I've made an online course with it. And you can find me on all sorts of medias out there: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm there. I'm out there.
She's out there. She's out there. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And I was looking at your website earlier before we spoke, and you do have a lot of different classes listed there. So and they're not expensive either. Like one of them was like $40. So I was like, wow, $40. I could, maybe I'll sign up for one, you know? So like if anybody is in the audience and they're interested in this kind of thing, it's available and it's affordable. It's not going to cost you like $10,000. So maybe you should sign up, take a class, and learn some stuff for yourself. I'm just saying.
I hope.
Yep. Okay, cool. So we have a famous question that we like to ask all of our guests. And normally my partner asks it, but he's sleeping because he has work today. But anyways, Ditte, what is your greatest hope for the future of humanity?
My greatest hope for humanity is to be more empathetic. And by empathetic, I mean looking out for other people and being respectful of other people. So when it comes to neurodivergency, LGBTQ, racism, sexism, classes, money wise, I do have a hope for people accepting one another and being more empathetic for one another.
I am 1,000% here for that. And when you were talking earlier, and when I asked you a question about like what are animal messages that are prevalent right now, I think you mentioned something like the animal talking about their mom and their dad, or their dad and their dad, or their mom and their mom. And I was like, yes, inclusion. I see what you just did, Ditte. I saw that. Yes. Don't think that got lost on me. I was definitely aware of that. That was cool.
Thank you.
And I advocate for the same thing. So it's like, I'm glad we're on the same page.
Oh yeah, me too, because we can't, take for granted that people have a family. As I grew up with a mom and a dad, and a lot of animal owners I help are part of the LGBTQ community, and their animals are their children.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely relate to that. And when people ask me if I have kids, I'm like, not of the human variety, but I definitely have lots of fur babies.
There you go.
They kind of look at me with like that little side eye, like the eyebrow goes up, and I'm like, I don't have human kids, so that's just what it is. Yeah. Very, very cool. Oh man, this has been an amazing conversation. Is there anything that we haven't touched upon that you would like to express today?
No, I just love being part of your show. I love you spreading out light and knowledge out there. So thank you so much for being part of it.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And thank you for thanking me. Yeah. I mean, I just find this really important because, when I first discovered animal communication and I was speaking to like my parents about it, for example, I think that they were open to it just to be supportive to me. But in the back of their minds, they were like, this girl is crazy. Like, what is she talking about? Because, yeah, exactly. I was raised in a Catholic household, and like, I wasn't brought up to believe that like reincarnation is real. So like, obviously, like you couldn't live outside of this incarnation. So like, once you die, that's it kind of thing. You better be good so you can go to heaven, or if not, you're going down. And we weren't like, so anyways, when I was talking to them about animal communication, they were pretty skeptical. You know what I mean? And like, it was kind of hard convincing or trying to convince them that it's real. And I would just like to know, like, what advice do you have for people that like are on the verge of accepting this, but not all the way there yet? Like, how can we push them over the edge so they're on our side?
I would definitely recommend them to trust me on this one. The biggest miracles and epiphanies can only be experienced if you are open to it. If you're not open, you're not going to experience it. So if you are at least interested in it, please just stay open so that you make room for it to come to you.
Yes. Okay. Great advice. We'll leave it at that. So hopefully people take that advice. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been truly, like I say this with no qualms, it has been truly an honor. And I just hope that our audience eats this stuff up as much as I do, and that we spread lots of ripples of love and light and openness and empathy and all the great things that we love around here. And yeah, I'm ecstatic that I got to speak with you today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yes. And for our audience that's sticking around, please do us a favor and smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word. Okay, Ditte, I close out my show with a little 3-piece hand gesture movement. I'm going to show it to you real quick, and then if you are open to join me, I would love it. I do much love, peace, and namaste.
What you're going to hear about today is nothing short of a miracle.